Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming back, Melanie. I think you were on over a year ago, huh?
It was just a little over a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been trying to put together an episode like this for a while. It's a guy can't just put out this episode. So if a guy just puts this episode out, it gets looked completely the wrong freaking way. So there had to be,
Fair.
yeah, we had to. So if Melanie, if you want to reintroduce yourself and kind of
Yeah.
say what you're
So,
about, everything.
sure. So my name is Melanie Collins. I run Collins Counseling and Coaching. And one of my specialty areas is sex therapy with an emphasis on kink and, a couple of other types of non-traditional, I hate saying it like that, but non-traditional, relationship styles.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. How about you, Ellie? Introduce yourself. Let's get to
I'm
know you for a
I'm
minute.
just Ellie. I'm not super I'm not a counselor. I just have, decades worth of experience, like
That's awesome.
23 or so years in the lifestyle. So
Yeah.
there are, I don't know, like real world experience is equal to educational experience, I guess.
I think they could be
Yeah.
blended together for a different
I,
perspective.
I'm so sorry. I keep interrupting.
No,
I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry.
That's probably my fault.
It makes it real. Just to talk over everybody makes it real.
Exactly.
So
Well, especially in my family, that's how we do. Um, so, Ellie, is that right?
uh-huh.
So I'm kind of curious, like, okay, so you've got decades of
Yes,
experience, so you've kind of been in this for a while.
I have.
Okay.
I came out of a horribly abusive marriage and my brain was broken. So when I
Mm,
started in the lifestyle, it was for the psychological benefit versus the physical benefit. I
yeah.
had to retrain my thought process to disassociate pain with negativity. So that's how I came into the lifestyle. But since then, I've done, I've gone to lectures and I went through training. Like I paid to become a properly trained submissive. I support that, but be prepared for the expense of doing that. Like I did that like almost 20 years ago and it was close to $10,000. So
Wow.
it's a lot. It's expensive to do it, but it's worth it until you figure out where in the dynamic you want to be.
Right. Okay. So see, and I haven't actually talked to someone who's been through like a formal training like that. And so I think I find that really fascinating. My dominance in the past, so I'm also in the lifestyle. My dominance in the past have been the type that wanted to kind of take you under the wing and train and that kind of thing. And
Sure.
my current husband is the same type.
She said
And
current.
so
Is there
I
more
never
than one?
did formal, training outside of, just kind of vetting the person.
Sure. No, and I get that too because I mean, and that's a huge part of it is you have to be comfortable with who you enter this bond with.
Exactly.
And for me, when I came out of this marriage, I wasn't comfortable with anybody,
Hmm.
and I was seeing a counselor because I was so broken. So, Reader's Digest version, I left my marriage because my ex husband broke my jaw in 3 places,
Ooh,
and yeah, he was kind of a dick. But
kind of.
at that point, I didn't know what to do. I was 21 years old. I wasn't even 21 yet. I was 20, and so I had a lot of trauma and I was kind of freaking out at my counselor one day, and he says, "You know what? I'm going to send you to this other counselor." And I said, "Okay, why?" And he told me, and I was like, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to get hit. I don't want pain. I don't want any of it." And I was telling Kevin the other day, I had a lot of session work with the counselor before he brought someone in that he thought would benefit me. But I was telling Kevin, like, I showed up for my appointment and there was this weird guy sitting in my office and all he did was stare at me. Like, he didn't say anything, he just stared at me. So I actually went outside to my car and called the counselor and was like, "Hey, I'm here, but there's a weird guy in your office. So I'm not coming in." And he's like, "No, no, no, come in. It's okay." And then he introduced me to the weird guy. The weird guy turned out to be someone that was like reclaiming themselves as well.
Okay.
And he was a veteran. He was bullied. He was trying to come back to like the masculine side of himself. And the counselor put us together because I needed someone who had been where I was to kind of help reshape my thought process too. So it worked. And ironically, the person was from my hometown. So
Oh, wow.
we were able to, after several weeks of session work with the counselor, kind of branch off and stay functional for almost 3 years.
We circle back.
But, you know,
Can we
Go ahead.
circle?
huh?
Can we circle back for a minute? So we're talking about dominance and submissive. I don't. I'm not sure if a lot of people know what we're talking about. Like, so if there's some
Oh,
people
fair.
that don't know if we're talking about, let's kind of go over that and explain the dynamic with that.
Yeah. So a lot of people, so BDSM, right? You've got the acronym, which
Sure.
is, I always do this. I always because I'm a little bit dyslexic, I have to literally write it down in order to keep this straight while I'm talking. It's bondage, um, uh, dominance, submission, masochism. There's also an element of sadism and discipline. That's so the D and the S kind of do double duty there.
Okay.
See, and like I said, I'm dyslexic, so I kind of messed that up a little bit, but you get the idea. The idea is that it allows people to kind of tap into some of their natural instincts. Not every dominant is male. Not every submissive is female. It's kind of all over the place with that, but more often than not, you're going to find that particular thing. It allows leadership. It allows structure. It requires a huge amount of communication. That's one of the things that I love so much is the amount people in this lifestyle communicate more about a particular type of play that they intend to engage in that day than many people do about their entire sex life.
I watched a lecture the other day from a neuroscientist, and they were
Yep.
talking about kink and like people what people get attracted to. And
Mhm.
a lot of times it comes from, like, even if it comes from trauma, it's something that you're stuck with for your life. So you have to turn it into a healthy, you have to go through steps,
Right.
kind of like Ellie was talking about, to turn it into more of a
Yeah.
healthy, so you look at it in more of a healthy way and you can express it in more of a healthy way. And
Right.
I thought that was really fascinating.
I think
Well, and
that's
even if you never get, sorry, Melanie, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think that's really true of all relationships,
Yeah.
if we're being totally honest.
Yeah.
We all have our things that we're attracted to and interests and all of that. But if we don't have any kind of healthy framework for what does a healthy relationship look like,
Yeah.
there's no way we're going to be able to make any relationship, especially one in kink, be healthy or be, acceptable even because let's be honest. I know we don't want to hear this and we don't really want to say this a lot of times, but it can draw in people that are going to be abusive and use you.
Yeah. They're going to abuse,
100%.
And
kind of abuse the system.
yeah,
So that's actually kind of where I was going with it too. Even if you never get completely into the lifestyle, learning about it will help you in other aspects of your life. It makes you a strong communicator. It makes you understand like the benefits of trusting someone else with heavier stuff in your life. Like one of the things I said the other day was my life is very loud. I have a lot of stuff. I don't trust a lot of people. But when I was talking to Kevin, my nervous system reset itself and I felt it. And it was weird. And I was like, well, I don't really know what to do with this now. But, and he laughed at me and I laughed at myself because I don't reset like that very often.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
But it teaches you these tools.
Mhm.
do you think
Kevin, you were
I'm so sorry. I'm going to try to find a way to not interrupt everybody. Do you think that
we're all doing it.
the communication, like introducing that sort of thing into your relationship, whether it's early on or whether it's midway through, do you think that communication could make for a more secure relationship? Because you got vulnerability, so a lot of that stuff. A lot of people carry a lot of shame around this, right? So you've got a
Absolutely.
certain measure of vulnerability that you have to dig into in intimacy with your partner, and I would feel like that could kind of strengthen the relationship, make it a little more secure.
I believe that it does. You know, if your partner is responding in kind,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
if your partner is also
okay.
communicating. So it has to go both ways. But yeah, it seems to the depth of emotion and bond that I've seen in this type of relationship seems to go a little deeper than traditional mainstream styles
Yeah,
because of the level of communication. Because in order to communicate at that level, you have to have awareness of yourself,
mhm,
your own internal emotional states, your own motivations, like your own triggers, all of it, and figure out, how do I articulate this? How do I say this in a way that my partner's going to understand, that we can then work together and figure it out?
if someone has shame around this sort of thing, because I think there's a lot of sexual
Mhm.
shame. I think men and women can carry that.
Mhm.
What would you suggest them? What would you suggest them do to kind of get over that shame so they can actually enjoy themselves more in the bedroom and
Right.
experiment with their partner and build that bond?
So I've got a couple of books that I recommend all the time.
Okay.
One is Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. Um, one is Tongue Tied by Stella Harris.
Okay.
The Emily Nagoski one's really about kind of accepting yourself as you are. Tongue Tied's about the communication aspect. And then there was one more that I was kind of thinking about that has disappeared at the moment, but those are a couple of good ones to get started with. Um, Learning about shame is kind of a big deal, because if
Yeah.
you don't understand why you have that shame, because some of it's going to come from culture, some of it's
Yeah.
going to come from your parents, your religious upbringing, wherever you came from, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe your mom was a little uptight about things and got like really weirded out if there was ever any kind of a joke made or something, and you internalize that. Or maybe something bigger happened and you internalize that as shame, because shame rules a lot of our life
Yes.
and not
Yes. It
just
does.
in
Yes.
that area.
Yeah, I think Carl
So,
Jung talked about that a lot. I think Carl Jung was big on the shame and the dark side of yourself and stuff like that. So Ellie, so you were getting out of an abusive relationship and you had a
Yes.
hard time because were you
Damaged. You can say it. I still say I'm damaged now.
yeah, well, were you attracted, like, so you got beat up, right? But then when did you realize that you could equate that pain with pleasure? Like, where's that line there? Like, what happened, and how hard was that to overcome? I'm sorry, that's probably a
You know, it was
bunch of
really,
loaded
for
questions.
me, it was really, really, really strange. No, and it's fine because, you know, these are things that people need to
Yeah.
understand. But before I do that, back to the book things, the therapist that I saw recommended a book called You Are the One You Are Looking For.
Okay.
And it's all about teaching self acceptance, which is huge in the dynamic. I can't remember who wrote it, but I can message you later because I have a copy of it somewhere in my house.
Yeah, I'll put
Um,
links. I'll put links to books beneath the Facebook when I advertise this. If,
but before I was able to reassociate. Like I went through a lot of like panic attack about 6 months after I moved out. I was living with my sister. She had a party. There was this guy there. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go out with this guy. I'm gonna think about him in my early 20s. I was like, I was young, I was cute, I was thin. I was like, hell yeah, this guy's paying attention to me. It's positive. My brain reacted to the attention. So I was like, cool, we're gonna get there. But then he spanked me and I freaked. And I'm not talking like, oh, don't do that. I don't like it. I'm talking like full blown defense posture. I'm going to go after you if you hit me again, kind of thing. And it was kind of like at that point that I realized I couldn't figure it out on my own and I needed help. But it probably took me 15 years to be completely comfortable with pain equating to pleasure instead of something negative, because I was struggling with myself through a lot of it. Like, why wasn't I good enough? Why did he see fit? Like, why did I need to be beaten? But I mean, I did it to protect my kids. I put myself between him and my kids, who at the time were like 18 months and 9 months. Like, I wasn't going to deal with that stuff. Um, but it still was enough of a trauma for me that I realized I couldn't do it on my own and I needed help.
Yeah.
I mean, I still see a counselor now, other things, but
Do you
that's part of the session, is we
do you
always
think
talk
that
about it.
there was anything in particular that any one dominant did that helped you the most?
Um, I think it was a combination, honestly. When I got to the point of acceptance, that's my favorite word in the dynamic, is acceptance, because there are things about yourself that you learn to accept. Um, everybody talks about shame, but people are people. You are who you are, and you have to learn to embrace that to be a part of this dynamic. So I think once I got to the point of acceptance and the same dominant was involved in that, then I was able to move forward past the, okay, this is going to invoke a trauma response. Like, he's the one that introduced the phrase to me, know you're yellow, because there are subtle changes in a person
Mhm.
when they're overwhelmed, overstimulated, something's happening that's triggering a negative response. And if the dominant doesn't know the yellow, it could push the submissive, the experimental submissive, whatever, past the point of comfort. And then at that point, there's a fine line between dynamic and abuse.
Exactly. And I love the way you put that, because that is some of the micro level of communication that I talk about. I love the way that he put that to you. That's really good.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, well, we were talking about it the other day. I have a girlfriend that I talk to about it, and she cracks me up. She's 71 years old, and she's completely nuts, but she's fun, and we get along, and we can talk about anything. She's kind of like having a really old big sister. Um, but we were talking about the Know Your Yellow thing because her daughter is in a dynamic marriage, and she has triggers and the husband doesn't see them. So my comment was, you can pay attention to the red, because the red it's definitive. If I tell you red, you're gonna stop. Red means stop, period. um if I safe word, whatever, all of the things, if I give you a signal, if I'm gagged, whatever, those things matter. But it could be a hitch in my breath, it could be an increase in my heart rate, it could be my breathing changes, and those are all little yellow points. Like, I'm in this, but I don't like it anymore. Please understand. The yellow matters a lot if you do things in the dynamic gags where communication is limited,
Mhm.
masks, gags, things like that, because now you have to depend on those subtle changes
Right.
to start or stop your scene. So when you get there, you're kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I'm going to do this to you today, but you can't talk. You can't
Mhm.
make a sound. Well, how do you communicate what you're feeling if you can't do those things and they don't pay attention to it?
Right. Right. And there's a lot of different ways that people have come up with to communicate through those types of restrictions as well.
Sure.
And I love that. The level of trust required is is
Off the hook.
found. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it really is.
it's huge.
Yeah, I like that
Because
idea of it because it seems like that could benefit you in other areas of your relationship also.
Sure.
So if you get that,
oh, absolutely.
and we've been talking about scenes a lot, so we'll circle back and try to kind of figure out what a scene is and how to build a scene maybe. And then toward the end, we'll try to talk about maybe how to introduce this sort of thing into your existing relationship. Because I truly believe the trust built and all the communication that can help you in areas of your relationship that have nothing to do with the bedroom. Because you've got that
Absolutely.
bond, you've got that used to communicating, you've got that trust with each other. So what would a what's a scene? Just for anyone who's might be watching it. If
So
anyone wants to,
basically, a
this is going to be a
scene.
touchy part, but for anyone who wants to jump in,
So I would say that a scene is pretty much any time the two of you play, two or whoever, play together.
okay,
It is usually somewhat structured. Um, there are times that it's not super structured, but you already have negotiation in place. You've already talked about what's okay and what's not. But a scene is pretty much any time that you guys play together.
Okay. Okay, yeah. And who sets up the scene normally? Is that negotiated before? I know you've got yes, no's, and maybes, and I know you've got a lot of stuff you go through before. But who normally sets up the scene? Like, how does that go? Is that because we're
So
yeah,
normally the dominant is the one who sets everything up
okay,
and, figures out how it's going to go. But the submissive has some, feedback and input, because if they didn't, then we wouldn't be talking about all the communication
yeah,
required. And, so I might tell my partner that this is something I'd really like to try. And we'll ask questions, we'll talk about it for a while before we even get to anything, scene
okay,
time.
yeah,
We'll talk about it for a while and kind of figure out what are the no-goes and what if and how does this work. And then, and I'm trying to be a little bit public friendly on the way I'm
yeah,
saying some of
yeah,
these
yeah. I
things.
know. There's a line you gotta walk right up.
Right, exactly. And so yeah, there's a lot of negotiation. I know that my husband and I, when we started dating, we went through a yes, no, maybe list,
Yeah,
um, for probably 3 months before we got to any kink related activity.
okay,
And we discussed a lot of things, and he sets it up pretty much every time with the understanding of what I'm okay with, what I'm not,
okay.
maybe pushing my limits, my
Boundaries.
abilities
Yeah,
a little bit. But some of that is it's with the understanding of where my edges are that I might want to try to grow in.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, let's so kind of poking at boundaries and without going too strong toward the boundaries, kind of just poking at them and seeing where you're at.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's part of it though. Pushing the limit
Yeah.
is part of the dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's why you have things like safe words in place, because if you get to the point that it's too much, it gives you the out.
Yeah. Agree. Completely.
So
I'm all about a checklist, by the way.
I'm sorry.
It matters. I'm all about a checklist, by the way.
Right.
Mine is extensive. It's very, very long.
I would love to compare
Sure.
because mine's like 4 pages. And so
I've never printed it. I should.
I would love to compare. That'd be great. We'll have to do that later.
yeah,
Yeah, sounds like a
you
plan.
guys will have to connect and kind of talk shop.
It makes me sound like a hooker, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the joke that counselors are just feelings hookers.
Yes, I actually have, because that's psychology is my background. So
Yeah. So I mean, I've been
we
called that
are.
before. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I just don't make enough money at it. Um,
So just to point out that we're regular people, Ellie, you got degrees.
I
You've been
do.
to school. You're an upstanding member of society.
I don't know
Like
if I'd go that far, but yes, I've been to school. Um, my background traditionally is criminal justice. I'm actually in school now. I am pursuing forensic psychology because, again, criminal justice background. But I have career certificates in private investigation, forensic science.
Wow.
I've been to culinary school. Like, I guess, I don't want to say run of the mill because I'm really weird and I own it. Also took a long time for that, but I'm a everyday person, I guess, for lack of better terminology. I get up in the morning, I go to work, I feed my dogs, I come home, I cook dinner, I do homework, because why not get a degree at 53? Um, but it's not, there's nothing that says you have to be like this dark, seedy person with all these deep, dark secrets to be a part of the lifestyle. I actually went to a munch here about 3 years ago, which made me laugh. And that's just like a gathering of people in the lifestyle. And I do quotes for a reason. where they go and get to know other people and have dinner and share and talk with like-minded people. And the first one I ever went to, I walked in and there was a judge that I worked very
Mhm.
closely with on a couple of cases, and I was like, I don't really know what to do right now. Like, I kind of freaked me out. Like, there was a judge, there were a couple of pretty powerhouse attorneys. Like, my boss was there, and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I could ask the same for you, sir. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to introduce the lifestyle to yourself or to introduce yourself to the lifestyle. Like, that one's my favorite. Food is my love language. I would love to host one, but I don't have the capacity to host one. Like, I have the party house because it's big and we let people come in all the time. But the reality of it is, I don't want those people in my house because I interact with them on a professional level a lot.
Okay.
So I'm like, maybe they don't need to know this part about me. But when you walk into an event and they're there, you're kind of like, well, crap, you know?
Right. I've had to be very careful about what events look like for my husband and I, because while we don't play publicly, we do attend events.
Sure.
And, if I walk into the big club here in my city and one of my clients is there, to very cautiously just
Sure.
excuse myself from that area because they don't want me watching them play. And I totally get it. I don't want to watch them
Sure.
play.
Like, I'm not a
Um,
public player either. So I
yeah,
get that.
we have to, and I have to have those conversations with my clients, okay,
Sure.
so just FYI, I'm going to the convention thing this weekend. Are you going? Is there a chance we might run into each other? Yeah, sometimes.
Sure.
It's interesting. So Kevin, you're talking about, we're all just normal people.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, I had a conversation with another therapist who has the same specialty, and she's in California.
Okay.
And she goes, wait, I didn't know there was anyone. I'm in Kansas City. And she goes, I didn't know there was anyone in Kansas that did that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, when you know how to break down Google searches and like where they're coming from and what's being searched and all of that, more conservative areas have a much higher search for sexual content,
Okay.
including kink.
Okay. So I'm gonna
That makes sense.
say kind of a hot topic right now. So that I love digging into the data and the statistics of what
Mhm.
there's a book called My Secret Garden. Nancy somebody wrote it, and she had a bunch of women anonymously write in their fantasies.
Uh-huh.
And so it's if any guy wants a cheat code, read that freaking book, and you're gonna realize that we're all the fucking same. Women want generally women want the same thing that men want. It's all,
Mhm.
and so in some ways, so they did a porn search, and this is gonna sound bad. I don't know how to say this in a good way, but they did a porn search, and women are actually they search more violent type. I don't want to say violent because that sounds so fucking bad in this context.
But it's true.
But women search more violent type sex acts than men do.
Aggressive. Use the word
So
Aggressive.
aggressive.
That's
I
the
like
word.
that. That is a much better word. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give a little context to that, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay.
So Esther Perel, very well-known sex
I
therapist.
love Esther Perel. I just want to say I love Esther Perel. I watch all her lectures. I'm all over
Yes.
Esther Perel. She's got like 4 or 5
So
decades into it. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I love her accent too. So Esther Perel and Justin LeMiller.
Okay.
So he wrote a book called Tell Me What You Want, which is along the same lines of My Secret Garden.
Okay.
And so they both talk about how the female sex drive tends to be a little bit, hate using this word.
Just
Well,
spit
let's
it
say
out.
self-absorbed. Let's say self-absorbed, because
Okay.
I was going to say narcissistic because I think that's the word that Esther used. But the idea is that it's really about it doesn't matter so much if I find him sexy. Do I feel sexy? Does he make me feel sexy?
Yeah.
Does he make me feel desired?
Yeah.
Right? And so those acts that are searched very often have to do with, does he want me so badly that he just can't help himself?
Okay.
Now,
That makes
does that
sense.
mean anyone wants something like that to happen in a context where there's not safety and security?
No,
No,
no.
Consent
because
is
that's the
everything.
key. Is exactly, context is everything, and you've got the safety and security inside a dynamic where you've already discussed everything. But that's part of the reason that, you know, for some people, I can't
Yeah,
make it a blanket statement,
yeah,
but for some people, that's part of what drives that interest.
yeah. I got you. So let's say there's a couple watching this, or they're in a relationship, and one of them wants to introduce something a little spicier, or they've had thoughts, or they've had anything like that. How would they go about doing that? How do you, as a therapist, how would you tell them to go about introducing that to their partner in a healthy way? And having that
Yeah.
conversation can
So,
be scary.
yeah. So that's something we probably spend at least a couple of sessions unpacking
Okay.
and helping them understand themselves, their own motivations for what they're interested in, and all of that. I want to understand things about their partner. What makes you feel like it's a risky thing to talk about?
Okay.
You know, and there are,
I like
I
that
mean,
aspect of it. I like
yeah,
the aspect of figuring out why they feel risky talking about it with their partner that they're already sharing a bed with. I like that aspect a lot
right,
because that dives a little
It
bit
is
deeper
different,
into their whole relationship.
exactly.
Yeah.
but
And
it's different
mhm,
because you're supposed to be able to communicate with your partner on any level.
right,
But if you're not comfortable with this level of communication, there's something in your nervous system that's telling you it's not okay.
yeah. It might be something from your past. It might be something in your current relationship. But if I don't know that, I'm not going to tell someone how to
Right.
introduce something.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
Like my personal favorite, my most recent relationship, I went into exactly who I was as a person, and the response, I outgrew that part of my life. You either are or you're not. It's not a phase. It just you are or you're not. You don't outgrow it. You just
okay, that's
I was like, uh-huh. Okay. It didn't last very long.
okay. Fair.
Now there's pieces and parts that don't make any sense. That one was one of them.
Yeah.
So let's say they get some therapist, some counseling sessions done in general, because we have to speak generalities. We can't, of course,
Yeah.
with outliers to everything. How would they go about introducing that? How would they go about talking to their partner? Is that a case by case process based on
In
what you learned
general,
about them?
I would say it's kind of a case by case, but some common things would be introducing it slowly, reading a book, watching a movie together that has some element of something that they're interested in.
Okay.
And I'm not talking porn. There's a lot of mainstream movies,
Yeah, there
you
are.
know, so you
Yeah.
don't have to drag your partner kicking and screaming into, you know, something that they're like, wait, what are we doing here?
Pull up Pornhub.
Um, what's that?
I said pull up Pornhub out of the blue.
Exactly, right? So there's a lot of different ways to start introducing the topic, even in a way when you're not quite ready, you're just trying to soft launch everything. You can find out what is their interest level without putting all of your stuff out there.
Okay, so you're reading their reaction to the subtle
Yeah.
hints that you're throwing out there.
Which, if we're being honest, going back to some of what Em said, um, you know, that's a skill
Yeah.
that you're going to have to learn with your partner, because it is not only up to the dominant to keep things safe, it's also up to the submissive, because if they don't communicate,
Yeah.
you know,
The dominant doesn't know.
there's not going to be safety. It is up to both of them to really communicate about what's okay and what's not. So if you're trying to introduce this to your partner, you know, maybe sitting down and watching a movie. 50 Shades is very polarizing. I won't
Very
necessarily
polarizing.
use that one, but
That was the example I used too, actually.
But, there's things like there's a movie called The Secretary.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it,
Fabulous flick.
yes, I love it. James Spader honestly still disturbs me just a little bit because there is no reason that man should be able to get it, but he can't. So, like I'll try watching Boston Legal reruns with my husband, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Nope.
It's
It kind of
horrifying.
ruins you for other stuff that he's in.
What's that?
It kind of ruins you for other stuff that he plays in.
Does, except for his character. Okay, I'm totally going off the rails now, but his character in The Office was basically the same
It was
character from The
okay.
Secretary.
Yeah.
So that works. But anyway, so that's a good movie. And there's a whole bunch of them. You can do a Google search. I think I probably have a list somewhere of like a whole bunch of mainstream movies that reference or kind of delve into some of those aspects.
Okay.
So
I've got an idea, and I'm not an expert. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've dabbled in it, and I've had it like I've had relationships where we got into it and we dabbled in it and we experimented and stuff like that. I've got an idea though, being a so we're talking about a dominant and a submissive. I've got, I worked up the idea at some point where I feel like sometimes that dominant is putting himself out there and being a little bit more vulnerable. So I feel like kind of the submissive holds all the cards, and I'd like to kind of showcase that part of it, because when you just
that's
say
fair.
dominant and submissive, people get a bad taste in their mouth, because that can
Yeah,
Sure.
it's
fair.
been those terms have been really used. So I've got the idea that the dominant is actually being very vulnerable, and he's not like he's in charge on paper.
Right.
But if you read between the lines, I think the submissive is kind of calling the show.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah, because the submissive. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Em.
No, you're fine. But it's accurate because the dynamic itself is designed to to be where she's his weakness, but he's her strength. Um, because everyday life, women specifically, like I don't know very many men that are submissive that are not in a same sex relationship. But even those men, what I've learned is at the end of the day, like if the everyday life is loud, that person in the submissive role is trusting the dominant to lead. So because they are trusting the dominant, they are relying on their strength to help them go forward. But at the same time, you have people like me, like my dynamic is generally DGLG when I have one. But also I'm a brat.
Can we say that?
So
Let's explain that acronym real quick, because
oh, the letter, it stands for Daddy Dom Little Girl.
Okay.
Do I have daddy issues? Not really. But it's where I feel the most comfortable in the dynamic. Somebody providing the structure that I'm missing matters. So that's why that dynamic works for me. But like I said, I'm a brat. So when I get to that point, I like to top from the bottom. That's a whole nother story. This is gonna be a whole nother podcast, like I like to top from the bottom. I'm sassy. I'm not very nice. And my favorite phrase, make me. Or what are you going to do about it? Like, it's very, very, very hard for me to not be a smartass. That's just my personality, but it works in that particular dynamic. It's almost biblical, really. Like, there's a correlation to things like Adam and Eve. Like, he was put to protect her, to guide her, to lead her, and she was put to be like the home and hearth, raise a child, rearing all the other thing. But I also believe that that's why women cannot decide where they want to eat, because the last time we made a choice, we doomed humanity. I'm just saying. Yeah, I try.
I can't say
If this
that.
doesn't work out, there's always comedy, right? But like there are things like that in the dynamic that matter. Like as a submissive, we are trusting our dominant to guide us and to lead us. And you are trusting us to be receptive to that leadership. Brats, we're just kind of assholes. I mean, it's the truth. That's our job in the dynamic, is to be that
So
way.
can I
But
interject really quick? What does being a brat serve you if we dig a couple layers under?
for me, it's the punishment, and it's
Okay.
punishment, not punishment.
Okay.
Things like we talked about pushing limits, the dom pushing the subs limits. The brats do that to their doms. For example, you're going to do this and not do this. Let me give you an example. This is where like a lot of the denial dynamic comes in. I'm going to, can I be really crass? I mean, I don't know. This is a
I don't know
21
how to
plus.
edit videos, so whatever the fuck we say
Okay.
gets said on the
Well, so
video.
it's just going to be crass because it's sex. So like really crass, the dom may say, okay, I'm going to fuck you until you can't stand it, but you can't come. That's a punishment. Like, hey, I'm getting what I want. He's getting what he wants. But wait, that sucks because I want the release. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the punishments matter as a brat. But at the same time, legitimate punishment, writing lines, spanking. I mean, there's a pleasure and a pain spanking. Like, people that are deep into the dynamic understand the differences. Like, you mentioned 50 Shades, and he says in one of them, if you roll your eyes again, I'm going to take you over my knee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then she freaks out, right? So while the punishment is effective, somebody that's brand new to the lifestyle would panic at
That's
that
understandable.
Right.
because it is physical violence,
Right.
you know.
Aggression.
So and I use the word violence, physical aggression, fine,
Yeah,
whatever. It's my word.
let's
Go ahead.
soften that
It's
up.
too early for that. Too early to use my words against me. But it is. It's an aggressive punishment. And it might be extreme for somebody that's brand new from the get-go.
Yeah.
But you, in the role of submissive, cannot disobey your dom directly like that unless that is the parameter that you set for the dynamic.
And that's the whole thing. Did you set it up? Did you talk about it? How do you disagree? How do you say, I don't know how I feel about that?
Yeah, what punishments are acceptable? Like, that's the whole yes, no, maybe stuff.
And that's why we have checklists.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is going to be kind of hot. This is, do you think, Melanie, that because I know that you and your husband coach femininity and masculinity, do you think there's a correlation here at all? Now, I know during our last conversation, I really liked the yin yang idea you had where men have some femininity in them, and I think they need to become comfortable with that. And women have some masculinity in them, and they need to become comfortable with that. But is there any way to correlate maybe the kink lifestyle, the dom sub stuff, kind of correlate it over directly to feminine and masculine?
So I think so. When we look at even when we look at same-sex couples that are involved in kink like this, the ones that tend to have what we think of as traditionally more masculine traits usually tend to be the top.
Okay.
Because it's about leadership. It's about consistency. It's about being able to provide the stability, right, for the nervous system that maybe craves structure.
Okay. So
And
maybe
that tends to be the more feminine traits.
so kind of like so if someone's having, I know that women tend to turn feminine or masculine when they get through trauma, and men tend to turn more feminine when they experience trauma. So could the lifestyle be a way of kind of returning, kind of hitting that baseline again, like a sideways way of sliding in there in the back door and hitting that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of fixing kind of helping the way you interact with each other, I guess. I don't know how to say it. So.
Yeah. And a lot of people find kink through that. Not the majority, but a lot of people do. And, trying to figure out what's regulating. Okay. Oh, this person is very regulating and I like this. Or on the dominant side, this person needs a little shepherding, needs a little guidance.
Yeah.
Now, I say that because I am a switch.
Well, polite.
And I've got a lot of practice.
Okay, so what is a switch?
So a switch is someone who can be either dominant or submissive.
Okay.
And I have been on both sides of that line, both sides of that slash. And so, but I think for the dominant, it tends to be this person needs some caretaking. This is something I can provide
Yeah.
and protect this person
Yeah.
and help them regulate.
See, and that's kind of where I was going with that, because it seems like that would help you kind of reestablish some of that dynamic in the rest of your relationship. Because that, I know what draws me if I'm talking to a woman or I'm dating or something, and she got some weakness to her, like she's got
Mhm.
something she's insecure about or something like that. It really like, oh, I want to hold you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like this weird thing that makes me feel like a man. So I think maybe that can, yeah, maybe that can help people out. Huh?
Now, I also want to be clear because we've talked some about trauma,
Yeah.
and I want to be very clear because a lot of people think that if you're interested in kink, you must have had trauma,
Yeah.
and that is absolutely
No.
not true. The breakdown percentage wise of people who are in the lifestyle because of trauma or who have trauma in their lives is no different than the general population.
Okay. That's
In
interesting.
fact, it's slightly less
Okay.
than the kink world
Okay.
of people who have trauma in their lives. And so, it's not purely because of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good thing for pointing out. Thanks for pointing that out. Because
Well,
that's a very,
I
very,
think it's important.
yeah, that's a very, very, very good thing to point out. So it doesn't have to come from a trauma response. It doesn't have to come from any kind of a
Right.
traumatic
Right.
past. I think that all of us, I don't think anyone's sexually open enough. I think we have more access to sex than we've ever had in our lives, but the
Mhm.
birth rates are going down. Um,
Yeah.
like they're plummeting. People are having less sex now, even in marriages,
Mhm.
than ever in recorded history. Like, so we've got all this access to sex, but I feel like in one aspect, it's easier to have sex with somebody than it is to have a vulnerable conversation. And I think that's where
Yes.
100%.
society has gotten us, which I think is ass backwards. I think that
Yeah.
you should
Yes.
be able, like I don't want to get too graphic with it, so I'll stop along the line right fucking
Well,
Your show, honey.
yeah.
right. It is your show. Um, but I can give an example of
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
if you
Absolutely.
like.
Yes. I would love to.
Um, so you mentioned when we were talking the other day, Kevin, my husband and I, the way we started.
Yeah.
Um, so we met on Tinder.
Okay.
We went on our first date, which was just ice cream. We're just going to go get ice cream. We're going to meet for 30 minutes, talk, see if there's any reason to move forward.
Okay.
We were supposed to be friends with benefits. That's why we matched. And when we got there, we spent 3 hours talking, and we kind of realized there was more to it, right? There was a lot more than just physical potential there.
Okay.
And so we slowed way down. We backed up. We said, wait a minute. The minute someone starts having sex, you stop getting to know that person on a deeper level.
Yeah, because you're caught up in the more superficial stuff, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so we slowed everything way down and we just kind of went, wait a minute. I want to see what's here for a potential relationship.
Yeah.
And we spent a long time getting to know each other. We slowed that aspect way down. It was months and months before we even got to any kind of kink,
Yeah.
and so it was all about getting to know the person. And so I think that trust, the ability to get to know a person, it really is a more vulnerable thing than just jumping into bed. Because, like, seriously, if you've ever had a one night stand or a short term relationship,
Awkward.
it's about, I don't give a shit
Yeah.
about what the
Yeah.
other person thinks.
Yeah.
I
I
don't,
gotta get mine.
yeah, I get mine. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
And so I do think you're very right on that.
And I've got one more thing. I've got an idea that the emotional. So I never introduce any kind of kink into any of my relationships unless there's already an emotional attachment. Because I don't know. I could be rightly or wrongly. Without that emotional attachment, I feel like it could become more abusive.
Yes. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that's not to say that it couldn't become abusive later.
No, of course. Yeah.
But
That's not like
if you, if you're vetting people carefully, if you are, seeing, are they being vulnerable with me too?
Yes.
Like, moving slow, that's a really important, that there's a reason that that's a really important piece.
Yeah. Okay. So what if, so I talked about the Madonna horror complex the other day, which is like the
Okay.
Madonna horror complex, a lot of reason that men go out and have sex with prostitutes instead of having the sex they want with their wives.
Yeah.
They tend to put them on a pedestal like that. Well, that's the mother of my children. And then sometimes that comes from early childhood because they're kind of a lot of single, this is going to be stupid. A lot of boys who grow up in single mother households end up developing the Madonna horror complex because they're seeing one side and they're kind of pedestalizing their mom. And so when they move on later in life, how would you help a guy hypothetically get over that?
Mhm.
Like if he came into your office, he said, because there's a lot of layers there. So
Yeah, there are so many layers there. I don't know if I can answer that with a blanket statement.
Okay.
I think it again goes into, let's explore this, let's normalize sexuality, let's normalize, desires, and help them understand that women have very similar desires. Women, I'm telling you, okay, when I've been around groups of men and they're talking crass and being knuckle dragging Neanderthals, right? When I'm around a group of women, the women are much
We're
more
so much
graphic.
worse.
We're so much worse. And the idea, what I'm saying is that women have desires too. Women want to have sex. In fact, when you get into sexless marriage research,
Okay.
50% of the time it's the woman saying, I want more sex. What is happening?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's very even split. So it's not like it's all men and no women want sex. I
Women
think
are
that's
dirty.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's like blunt, but it's true. Women are dirty.
True. It's true.
But
And so I think that that's probably some of the things that I would explore with that client.
Okay. Kind of
do you feel like on
normalizing.
some level,
Go ahead, Ellie.
go ahead,
No,
Kevin.
you good.
Well, it's like, do you feel like on some level that there's a societal shift in what men and women want? Because like I'm guessing we're all Gen X, right? Like all in
Yeah.
our 50s somewhere. Okay, so when we were kids, like it was two-parent households and mom and dad, and everything was like balanced,
Yeah.
right? So mom and dad, and they only did whatever they did behind closed doors. And now we have all of this accessibility. We can Pornhub, whatever,
Mhm.
RedTube, XVid, all of these things where there's all of these behaviors that we as children were told were taboo. And now everybody's so fascinated by them that they're so focused on the accessibility, nobody acts on them. Like, oh, that looks really cool, but I don't want to try it. Or, hey, let me watch this, but I don't, you have to, there's a comfort level, I think, with your partner that is missing because we're getting our information, not we, because we're feral, but we in general as society are getting their information from the internet. Like
Right.
there's no practical application anymore. And I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
a bad way to put it, but that's the reality way to put it is there used to be like when I was in my 20s, after my brain kind of reset itself, I would go to a bar with my sister. I have not paid for a beer since 1996. Also, I quit drinking like 13 years ago. We used to call it beer hustling because the reality is, and this is a very blunt way to put it, even outside of the demic, women hold the power.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And here's why. Because women have vaginas and men like them. So we can do whatever we want and they will still do it because they think there's a chance.
Okay. Can I
Does that
challenge?
make sense?
Can I challenge you on that a little bit? I want to challenge you on that.
You can, but this is 1996, Kevin, not 2026 that we're discussing.
Well, so women, a lot. That's actually a big viewpoint. Is women are the gatekeepers of sex. Women do hold the power over that, but also women respond to what men are attracted to. So
100%.
So
That's why they changed
yeah, so I
themselves to
think it's
suit
kind of
men.
this weird layer filled dynamic of men built all the roads. Like, look what we did. Like, there's never been a man who did something great who wasn't trying to impress fucking women. Like, literally, Napoleon
Yes.
Bonaparte.
But
Bonaparte,
why?
like,
What's at the root of why they impressed them?
yes, but then now let's go to the other side. So women, we have OnlyFans. Women come out with OnlyFans because men watch it, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of I think it goes hand in hand there. I think
I agree.
yeah, I enjoy that dynamic because women respond to what men are attracted to, and men go after what women are looking for. So I like that kind of dual side of that real quick.
Absolutely. But society is duality.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's just a fact of life. There are two sides to everything.
So
Yeah.
what?
And
Go ahead, man.
Kevin mentioned the yin yang thing that we talked about last
Yeah,
time
yeah.
I
I
was on
like
the
that
show.
idea. I
And
use that all the time. I stole that from you. I put it in my pocket. I use it all the time.
good, I'm glad. I'm glad. So the idea is for anyone who didn't see that is when you look at the yin yang symbol, you've got the white side, the dark side, but within each there's a spot of the
The
other.
dot.
That's because you cannot be fully 100%. It's like, and if I remember correctly, the swirl type pattern is a little more of a like a maelstrom. So
Okay.
it's, like everything kind of mixes and, one can't exist without the other. That duality
Yeah.
is in everything.
Yeah. And
Now,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I like the concept of that yin and yang because I think guys need to develop their femininity also.
Yeah.
So I think that's
And
a
women
big
need to use their masculinity in a healthy way.
yes. Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
a whole thing that we could go into at some other time.
Yeah. I could totally, I could go down a rabbit hole. So yeah. So I think men need to develop their femininity. Women need to develop their masculinity without it going too far.
Becoming toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so if there was one thing, so let's just let loose for the next 5 minutes. If there's anything y'all want people to know about kink, anything that y'all want people to know in any way, anyone's thinking about it, everyone thinks about it. I have a true belief that everyone really kind of thinks about it. They're turned on by what they're turned on by, but it's in their back of their head, and they don't let it. They don't truly let it come out. So if there was anything that y'all wanted anyone to know about kink, getting into kink, any of the psychological benefits, any of the health benefits, anything like that, just let loose and let's
Be
kind of bring it
honest.
out.
That's the biggest one. Own
Yeah.
it. Like own it. If you want it, be honest about it. Because again, it goes back to living in shame. Like if you want something in this dynamic, own it with your partner, with potential partner, whatever. That makes the dynamic more safe for you because every single thing in the dynamic is about consent.
Mhm.
You have to understand and trust your partner or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So own your shit. It's not that hard once you get there.
Yeah, once you get past the shame, maybe. So I think
Well, as I said, once you get
I
there,
think shame is a big
but
roadblock for a lot of people, especially with women in
I agree.
society, and society judged women forever. And so I think there's a little bit of that left over too.
Yeah. I would say that I would like people to know not all kink is extreme.
Yep. There you
Valid.
go.
Some of it is
That's a good point to bring up right now. I like that. Thank you.
yeah. People think of it as only what you saw in 50 Shades, but there was a lot of subtext in there.
Yeah.
And some of that was about the kink. That was about the dynamic. So not all kink is extreme. You've probably engaged in it, whether you realize you have or not.
Yeah, reading between the
Sure.
lines.
Yeah. I would say that I think that, well, no, the research shows that a lot of people have used it to rewrite their story.
Okay.
When we have an open loop, when we have like some kind of a trauma or a difficult ending or something like that, we have an open loop, like that story's not finished.
Yeah.
If we
Right.
can write the ending of that story or rewrite it somehow for ourselves, it helps us process it.
Taking your power back.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The San Friends be your own windkeeper or something. like decades ago. There was an episode with a book where they were like, "Oh, you should be your own wind keeper, and the men are the gatekeepers, and all this other stuff. You're stealing my wind." And yeah, I don't know. See, this is what
Okay.
happens at 8 o'clock in the morning with sleep deprivation. Um, but that part of it is essential, I think. The closure and
Yeah.
finishing your story.
Yeah. I a slightly personal story. There was
Okay.
we engage in impact play,
Okay.
and there was a particular implement that I was terrified of,
Okay.
and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just that particular implement I was terrified of because I had past associations with it from childhood.
Okay.
And there came a point, because of the consistency, the safety, the trust, the communication, that I asked my partner to maybe let's try that, but start softly,
Out of exposure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am no longer afraid of it just on site. Like it used to literally be on site, I would have a reaction, and I don't anymore.
Okay.
That was me rewriting some of my story and taking some of my power back.
So I'll say something personal. I'll counter that with something a little personal. So I was going through a divorce. I was probably a couple months away from a divorce, and it wasn't working out. I lost my leg a couple years prior. Like we had gotten into some bad stuff, and I had gotten her out of the house for a while, and she had texted me and said, "Hey, why don't we try a dom and sub dynamic?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds kind of cool." So I look it up, and I'm doing all this fucking research. I'm reading articles, and I'm printing out paperwork, and I'm just like, I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing. But so we practiced that dynamic for a while, and it got used against me in a divorce court. Like completely
Mm-hmm.
used again, like he wants to be dominant. Like it does not look good when you're 260, 6'4", covered in fucking tattoos. So
Yeah.
coming out of that divorce, I had a lot of shame around my sexuality. Like I carried that, and I was like, man, is it wrong? Is it bad? Like, because I'm going to court, and they're like, oh my god, he's abusive, and they painted it in this crazy fucking light. And I was like, what's going on here? Like she introduced it. But so I carried a lot of shame for a couple of years actually after that, before I was able to open up about what I was attracted to.
Yeah.
And I did it sloppy at first. I'd start dating a woman, I'd be like, spill out to her like on a second date. And that is the wrong fucking move to do. But so it actually took me a lot of work and looking inside myself to get over the shame of what I was attracted to.
Mm.
And that came about during a divorce. So that's always been kind of interesting to me. But yeah. So I
Well, there's
think,
a psychologist named Galen Faust
okay.
who I had the wonderful privilege of actually speaking to. He wrote a book called Decoding Your Kink.
Okay.
And there are places that it gets kind of deep, and I'm going, wait a minute, I don't remember that from school. I got to look that up, um, but he went through something similar
Okay.
where his proclivities were used against him in court in a divorce.
Yeah.
And that was, I believe, in the 90s, but he's become a very loud advocate
Yeah.
for the way that things work in divorce courts and things like that.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, it's some of the remedies in the poison, for lack of
Yeah.
better words. That sounds
Well, think about it in terms of immunity. Like when you are getting ready, like let's say like your flu shot, right? What's the first thing that happens? They inject you with the virus, so you build the immunity to
yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. So the remedies and the poison is a very accurate assessment.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always liked that statement. So okay. I appreciate y'all coming on the episode early on a Sunday morning. I still had pillow marks on my face, I think, when we started this episode, but I think they've cleared themselves up, probably from blushing a little bit too. If you two do not mind, will you please send me over Messenger, whatever, some books that might
Yeah.
help people out, and I'm gonna actually post either links or screenshots or something of those books underneath
Sure.
all of this, just
Sure.
for some extra material for if anybody's interested, or they don't want to admit they're interested, they can pick up a book, and it might help them out.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.